All right. Thank you everybody for joining us today for the Stay Running Common Running Questions educational event. My name is Arnav and I'm joined by Paul, Caden, and Utah.
Hi, my name is Utah. I enjoy running because I enjoy being part of the running community, and I've met a bunch of great people because of running.
Hey, my name is Paul. I've been running since the 8th grade. I enjoy running because I've found some of my closest friends through it, and it's a great way to keep in shape.
Hi, I'm Caden. I run because I found that I feel much happier and more energized during the day when I run, and also because I've made a lot of friends through running.
And I run because I feel like that it's a great way for me to relieve stress and meet new people. So just before we get started here today, this video is uploaded on a different channel right now, but it'll be uploaded on the main StayRunning channel later today. And the event will be around 25 to 30 minutes, with the first 15 to 20 minutes being used to answer questions that we commonly receive. And the next 5 to 10 minutes will be a live Q&A with the PT from Greenwood PT. Her name is Hannah, and for that, we're gonna have you ask questions live in the chat, and we'll answer them live. Additionally, throughout the event today, we'll be referencing the Guide to Safe Running, which we have sent out to everybody who has RSVP for the event. So be sure to have that open, and if you have not received that yet, you can get a copy of it on our website. And with that, I want to start by asking Paul. Paul, what motivates you to stay running?
Well, people run for all different reasons. From just trying to stay in shape to training to compete to meeting new people, there's definitely a wide variety. But an easy way to keep running is to set some goal that pertains to running. Try using small daily goals. Make the goal something that you couldn't make excuses over or procrastinate till there's no time left in the day. And if you have a larger goal, such as training for a big race or getting in shape for summer, make sure the smaller goals tie into the larger one in terms of timing and feasibility. Now, Utah, how many days a week should I be running?
Good question. So the number of days that you should be running in a week is really subjective to your running experience, the amount of time you have, and your injury history. Some runners might be running might be pounding out 100-mile weeks with at least 6 days of running, while others might be more prone to injury, only be running 2 to 3 days a week. And so a good rule for running is only increasing total running mileage and weekly mileage by 10% maximum. And we recommend a maximum of 6 days a week for all runners, with at least one rest day. And as a runner myself, I tend to run anywhere between 5 to 6 days a week, but that's just because I have the time and the experience to be able to run 5 to 6 days a week. When I first started out running, just getting through the daily run was a real struggle for me. And I had to run for quite a while before I got used to running throughout the week. And I think the most important thing when it comes to running or determining how much you run in a week is personal assessment. For example, if you feel like you only have the ability to run 2 days a week, you should try running 2 days a week and assess how you feel. If you feel really very good and energized and you have the time, maybe try running 3 days a week. However, you should be mindful when increasing the amount of days you run in a week, because you don't want to ramp up mileage too fast. So a good thing to keep in mind is if you're increasing the number of days you run in a week, maybe you should try decreasing the daily mileage that you run for the days in the week. And if that doesn't really work out, then you can always just go back to doing 2 runs a week. And by constantly assessing your running volume, you're creating a comfortable running routine that has room for flexible increases or decreases based on how you feel and how much time you have. And with that, I want to ask Caden, I'm feeling pain. What can I do about it?
Yeah, so first you should ask, how bad does it hurt? If it's more than a 3 on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being ER pain, don't run. Instead, go talk to an expert like a doctor or a physical therapist. There are 3 basic things you can do to address pain: ice, roll out, or take a break. If you were to ice in intervals of 15 to 20 minutes, then take an hour off. Also, make sure that you do not ice directly on your skin. It is best to place a towel or some other spacer between the ice and your skin. If you're going to roll out, make sure to roll out around the quads, hamstrings, calves, and IT bands. But be aware that rolling out can adulterate some injuries, so be cautious and pay attention to how you feel when rolling out. Also, be sure you do not roll out directly on the knee. If you feel the pain is too much when rolling out, please feel free to contact StayRunning, where we can put you in contact with a physical therapist. You could also try taking a break and still try to maintain your fitness level by cross-training. You can use these three methods in conjunction with the RICE method, which stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. Now we'll take it back to Paul, and I'm going to ask you, should I stretch before or after I run?
Both. Stretches are important during both your warm-up and your cool-down. While we cannot attest that stretching has prevented injury, we can personally say that we tend to feel better and less sore after our run. We recommend stretching before a run because it's known to help loosen your muscles, while stretching after a run may prevent soreness and long-term pain. Before a run, we recommend doing more dynamic stretches, followed by static stretches afterward. Examples for these stretches are included in the StayRunning Comprehensive Running Guide, which we will send out to everyone who is RSVP'd after the event. Now, Kaden, what do I do if I get a side cramp?
Good question. Dread from it, run from it, no matter what, you likely won't avoid a side cramp. A side cramp can be really painful, especially when it doesn't go away. What you should first do is slow down or stop running if the pain is very strong. Then make sure to control your breathing by taking deep breaths and exhale slowly. Another thing you can do is gently stretch your abdominal muscles by either placing both your hands on your head or just one hand on your head to stretch a specific side, though be careful as placing your hands above your head can sometimes worsen the cramp. Side cramps are often related to core weakness, so it may help to practice some of the core exercises in the handout that was sent out before the event. But sometimes they can be related to what, when, or how much you last ate or drank. Your body doesn't like to try to digest and exercise at the same time, and so experimenting with your eating schedule might make a difference. Side cramps really do vary a lot from person to person, though. Some people get them all the time, and others never get them. Now, Utah, where should I run?
So when it comes to deciding where to run, the two main factors that you should consider are ease of access and safety. You should run routes or pick places to run that are very close to your house and are safe places to run. For example, if there's a nearby park, if there's a neighborhood park that's close to your house, you could run there, given that the running environment is safe. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're running on the road, you should practice good running etiquette and follow pedestrian safety rules. And another variable that you should also consider when when deciding where to run are different running surfaces. Different running surfaces impact the amount of impact that is put on your muscles and your joints. And these type of running surfaces include gravel, concrete, the treadmill, or the track. And the most important thing is you should experiment. You should try out different running surfaces, try out different places to run, and see what works for you. And we will have more information about different running surfaces in the StayRunning guide that we sent out through email. And with that, I want to ask Paul, should I run even when I'm sore?
So it really depends on how sore you are. If you ran a super hard workout before, you might want to rest and let your body recover. If you're sore, it may be a way your body is telling you that your muscles are being repaired, or it may be also a sign of more serious injury. If the soreness lingers for more than 4 to 5 days, is particularly intense, or feels like a sharp pain, you should schedule a meeting with a PT or a doctor as soon as possible to try and address the issue. Make sure to warm up as well as cool down, especially when you're sore, to help reduce the possibility of more soreness. A warm-up and cool down routine we recommend is in the guide to basic running that you received in your email. All right, Arnav, does running get any easier?
That's a great question. Running differs for everybody. However, the more you run and stay consistent with it, the better your body will get at running. So what that means is you shouldn't go from running 2 miles a day to 10 miles a day. That's going to put you at a greater risk for injury. But what you should do is follow a gradual training plan and staying consistent with running. So as Utah mentioned earlier, if you go up by 10% every week, you increase your miles by 10%. That's a good metric to increase by every week. So what we recommend is follow a training plan, and running will get easier as your body gets more used to using the muscles and recovering after each run. And with that, I would like to ask Utah, how important are rest days?
So rest days are important for all athletes, but especially for runners, given the consistent regular basis on which runners train, and every time you go on a hard run, lactic acid is created in your muscles, which along with chemical variation irritates your muscles. This is the reason why you get sore the day after a hard run. Micro tears in your muscles that form during your run help your muscles get stronger, but having rest days really allows your body to fully recover and recuperate so that you're able to come back stronger and fitter. And for me personally, a rest day on Sunday is really essential because it lets me charge up and really attack the next week in terms of training and training volume. And with that, I want to ask Arnav, is it better to run in the morning or at night?
That's a good question. I've actually heard this one a lot. And so what we recommend is finding a time of day that works for you. You shouldn't be molding your days around running, but running should just fit into your schedule. So running in the morning or in the evening, you're at similar risk of injury as long as you ensure that you warm up and cool down before your runs. But what we do recommend is that no matter when you run, you stay prepared. So this is especially important in the fall and the winter because it gets darker earlier and the sun comes up later. And so with that, you want to wear bright clothing or reflective gear and to make sure that you share the road safely with other people. Additionally, no matter when you run, you should stay hydrated. That's going to be important to get you through your run and feeling good afterwards. Both of these tips will help you stay running for longer and better. And with that, I'd like to ask Caden, how important is sleeping for running?
Yeah, so the proper sleep routine is vital for a good running routine. Picture sleeping as a refilling tank of fuel, along with eating and drinking and staying mentally healthy. You want that tank to be as full as possible when you go running, and proper sleep will heavily contribute to that. When you sleep, your muscles also have time to recover. For adults and teens, strive to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Now, Paul, should you work your upper body too?
If you'd like, working your upper body is a great way to develop yourself as a runner. You need your arms and back to help propel you as well as keep track of your pace. Upper body strength becomes more important when you are preparing for races, but it's not crucial if you're just running for fun. It can be a good form of cross-training though. Now, Yuta, do I need to warm up and cool down after every run?
So the importance of something that seems as minor as a 5 to 10 minute warm-up/cool down can't really be overstated. Warm-ups help to activate the muscles and lower the risk for injury, while cool downs help to regulate blood flow and reduce lactic acid buildup. And I have to admit, a lot of times I've skipped warm-ups or cool downs because I was impatient or I just wanted to get going on the run. And for me, what's really helped me realize the importance of warm-ups or cool downs is getting injured or just being really sore the day after. Sometimes I've gone on a really hard run without any sort of warm-up or cool down, and it's come back to bite me. I'll just get injured or just feel really sore because my muscles weren't warmed up enough, or I just had too much lactic acid buildup. And so with those experiences in mind, I've come to realize that running is really just a process, and that running isn't just about the physical act of running. You have to do small stuff like warm-ups and cool downs, stretching, varied strength training, so that you're really putting yourself in a better position to stay running. And I want to ask Caden, should I run alone or with a friend?
Yeah, so with the current global pandemic, we recommend following existing social distancing guidelines. However, in a more conventional situation, we recommend running with others. Running with others can help you clear your mind and increase your motivation. When you run with others, your runs can become more interesting and it generally becomes easier, especially when running with others of a comparable fitness level. It is important to realize, however, that for some, running with others can make you push yourself harder than you're prepared to run. Generally, injuries can occur when you change something suddenly, like pace, running surface, distance, or elevation. And so just be aware that these sudden changes, be aware of these sudden changes when starting to run with others. A recent study shows that for every 1 mile run alone, a group runs 0.2 miles more. So running with others can really help you push yourself. It can also help with consistency, and you can set goals together. This can be a great way to both get your exercise in for the day and socialize with the people around you at the same time. I run with friends when I can, and I look forward to those runs much more than the others. Now I'm going to ask Utah, How can I prevent myself from getting shin splints?
Sorry about that. Let's start with talking about what shin splints really are. So shin splints are one of the most common running injuries among runners, and they're characterized by pain on the sides and front of the shins. And shin splints aren't officially diagnosed, but instead are used to describe a broad set of problems with muscles, bones, or compartments. And some of the causes of shin splints include overuse, high impact activities, and incorrect technique. And some of the ways that you can treat or prevent shin splints are running on softer running surfaces. That decreases the amount of impact that's put on your muscles. Toe taps. These are strengthening exercises that really help prevent shin splints. And also getting proper running shoes. That sort of ties in with incorrect technique because when you don't wear the proper running shoes, that's putting more strain on your muscles, and also that's preventing the shoe from cushioning your foot in the proper way. And if you try running through shin splints, and if the pain increases, then you should probably stop running. Visit a licensed healthcare professional or a physical therapist, and you should get help.
All right, thank you guys. That's all for our prepared content today. But now we are joined by Hannah from Greenwood PT, and we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So if you guys would like to post questions in the chat, we're going to try to get to them as soon as possible. So we already have some questions in the chat. Mr. Fleep asks, do you recommend increasing speed or distance first?
Sorry, took me a second to unmute. It's totally up to you and what your goals are. There's not necessarily one that's better than the other. You just want to make sure if you're progressing something, you only progress one thing at a time to reduce your injury risk. So choosing speed or choosing distance, but not necessarily focusing on both within one run, or kind of within the same week, picking which one is more of a priority to you, or you can kind of alternate between runs, just making sure you don't progress anything too aggressively or too quickly.
Thank you. We also have another question. I think we covered this during the event already, but we'll go over it again. Is there a certain time of day where I should be running?
Yeah, I think this was briefly covered earlier in the event. There's not necessarily scientific evidence that you should be running morning or afternoon, evening. It's a little bit more of a personal preference. You're going to get the same desired effects of running either way, just making sure you're warming up, cooling down, being aware of nutrition, as that can change throughout the day. Some people need to space out time between meals and running, and you might need to be a little bit more thorough with your warm up, maybe in the morning, in the evening, and thinking about sleeping. You want to make sure you give yourself a little time after running before you go to bed. Sometimes some people can fall right asleep, but some people complain that it's hard to fall asleep if they've run right before bedtime. So those are considerations, but there's not necessarily different injury risks or reasons for running morning versus evening based on science. It's a lot more of a personal preference, so what feels best to you.
Thank you. We will have a more general question for the whole team here. What type of shoes does everyone wear?
If you don't mind me jumping in.
Yeah.
So I've tried out different running shoes, but I think the one that's most consistently worked for me is the New Balance 880s. But that's just because I've gone to my local running shoe and I've tried out different running shoes. These are just consistently very comfortable for me. I think the most important thing is you should go to your local running shoe. They have people that can help you find the proper running shoe for you, and you shouldn't pick because of brand. You should pick because it feels comfortable for you, and yeah.
Thank you.
So I've also tried many different types of shoes. And I like to not stick with one type of shoe for that long. So the current one I'm using right now is the Saucony Guide ISO 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So personally, I like Brooks as I have a Brooks shoe, and it's worked pretty well for me. I consistently go back to Brooks because their shoes offer a lot of support, which I need for my feet. Um, Paul, what about you?
Same. I've used Brooks for I don't actually know how long. It's been a couple years, and it's the same reasons Arnav. I use the Brooks GTS. It's like an ultra supportive shoe. It fits what I need. Because I think it's because I land a little funny, but yeah. Other than that, just as Yuta said, you should more look into the type of shoe that you're getting than the brand, because all the brands offer the same things. You just need to know what type of shoe works the best for you.
Yeah, that was a great question. So Hannah, we have a more specific question here. What should I do if I have pain on the back of my ankles?
Yeah, so there's a few different diagnoses that are pretty common with running for pain through the back of your ankles. Probably the most common is Achilles tendonitis. It's a little hard based on location to know exactly what it is. You have bones back there, you have ligaments, you have muscles. So kind of the general running guidelines that were answered earlier as far as what to do if you have an injury. It depends on your pain level, if you've tried resting, if you've tried seeking care. So yeah, usually the very first thing you want to do is try to rest or reduce your mileage, making sure you're doing your warm-ups and cool downs if your pain is increasing or it's not going away, especially if it's been a couple weeks and your pain is still there. I would go ahead and either see a physical therapist or a doctor. If it is Achilles tendonitis, which is one of the more common diagnoses as far as back of the ankle pain, making sure you're strengthening and stretching your calves properly is super important. With a tendonitis, a lot of times you want to be strengthening the muscle through its full range. So what we call eccentric strengthening. So if you think of a calf raise, if this is your foot and this is the floor, a lot of people just do calf raises straight up from the floor. If you can do calf raises off the edge of a step and make sure you go up and then trying to go down even more slowly so your heel sinks below the step more slowly than you've gone up, that's one of the big exercises that we use for Achilles tendonitis. But I would say I wouldn't necessarily start those until you've confirmed that that's your diagnosis, just to make sure that you're doing the proper exercises for what's going on.
Yeah, and actually that's a good transition to our next question. Should I have regular checkups with my physical therapist or only when I feel pain?
Yeah, that's a good question. Part of it depends on your insurance and also what you're willing to pay. Some insurances won't pay for like a preventative visit. So it kind of depends on if you would be willing to pay if your insurance doesn't cover that. Some insurances are okay with doing every once in a while a check-in just to look at your overall strength, mobility. A lot of times most PTs do some sort of running evaluation as far as looking at your form and giving you form changes and exercises based on what they're seeing. One of the goals of physical therapy over time is for our profession to be able to be thought of as a preventative part of medicine as well. So what it would look like for me, especially if I had a patient that was really active, is they would maybe check in with me once a year, once every other year, just to make sure that their strength was well balanced, make sure their flexibility was good, their muscle recruitment patterns were good, so that we could kind of work on things to prevent injuries rather than people always coming when they already have an injury and then having to work back from that. I think it would be really helpful to prevent injuries if your physical therapist is willing to see you for a preventative appointment, which if you're willing to pay for it or your insurance is, usually they would be. So I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a great question. So I think those are all the questions we have for our event today. Thank you everybody for coming out. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@stayrunning.org. With that, we're going to end the stream for today, but we will be hosting another event soon in the future, so be sure to check your emails to learn more about that.